So
Yeah.
give us the overview of Fairyde if you want the elevator pitch per se, because it's a very interesting concept and a twist on some things that exist today.
Yeah. Well, if we can fast forward to 2009, we're now decided to move back to Manila, Philippines, to set up a boutique software development company called Republicis. So we did all sorts of apps for other Australian and American companies, from logistics management, point of sale system to crowdfunding platform. But it wasn't until 2018 when we developed our own e-wallet platform called Phone Pair in the Philippines and HyperPocket over here in the US. So, but when we were about to launch the e-wallet in 2020, as we all know what happened, right? In the midst of the pandemic, my soft dev and I, were working from home. So what are we going to do, right? So we can't launch the wallet at the time because we couldn't even leave our house. So we then developed other platforms that we could leverage the e-wallet from. So like a real estate buying and renting platform, kitchen delivery system for cloud kitchens. And we also developed a ride hailing app for tricycles in the Philippines called Trike, right? If you know those tuk-tuk in Thailand, so there's no such a thing, and Grab is a major player there. How about we create an application? So with my co-founder, Oxy, who's a Lyft driver here in Napa, so the app, he asked me to localize it for Napa Valley at the time. He gets pinged directly from riders stuck in the middle of nowhere here in Sonoma, or, up in St. Helena at an odd time with no ride hailing car to pick him up. So my first reaction was, are we competing against the monolithic companies whose home base is right here in Northern California? But after we assessed the market, we thought there's a use case to create a platform that is not necessarily competing against the incumbents, but to create an app that embraces Web3 technology. What do I mean by that? So Fairyde have quantified the effects of the current market factors in ride hailing and chartered transport services to develop a more robust business model here. If you look around, there's a lot of those chartered buses, private wine tours, and so forth. So having done our own extensive research and analysis, we're able to isolate and quantify the pure evolutionary effect of time on adoption for ride hailing and chartered transportation services, right? $1,200 a day to rent one of those limousines over here in Napa Valley. So we've taken those into account, each socio-demographic variables in the evolution of ride-hailing and chauffeur-driven transport usage. Our market research generally relied on secondary data because obviously by conducting our own survey to quantify the model, our competitors won't share the data. So the demographic variable and individuals' propensity to use ride hailing, it's softened over time. There's no real differentiator between Lyft and Uber, right? If I go overseas, use Didi, Grab in the Philippines, it's the same thing.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
So resulting to reduce the differences in ride hailing services in geographic segments that we studied included Napa Valley, Vegas, Orlando, Florida, San Francisco downtown, Los Angeles downtown, Manhattan. If you can see the pattern there, Jay, it's a combination of really high intensive population with a lot of nomadic population coming in and out, right? So it makes sense to get a ride hailing company to pick you up or take you to wherever you're going.
Yep.
So the market gap we identified are evolutionary dynamics specific to the ride hailing industry, which will become the precise reasons in our attempt to disrupt this market. So our market strategy, we hope, will generate better unit economics than our competitors because we're focusing on specific geographical locations. So Uber and Lyft don't feel threatened because, we looking at a larger captive client where there's a high number of passengers that are willing to pay fairer ride hailing and private charter fees, right? Not when somebody actually calls up and, hey, there's a surge pricing. So our drivers actually end up sharing that to the ride hailing company, but who's driving, whose brakes are getting worn out, who's actually sweating their backside, while they sit in traffic, right? It's a driver. So in reality, it should be the drivers who's actually getting compensated for the scenario that they're in. right? And we're seeing the demand for ride hailing, in fact, growing by up to 27% in the quarter of this year. So our focus on transportation in specific regions like Napa over expansion and diversification in the US and other countries is to make our global footprint using our core strength, blockchain technology.